Jurors, if you flip over in your jury packet, to the top of the page says verdict. You may find the defendant guilty as charged in the information, or guilty of such lesser included crime as the evidence may justify, or not guilty. If you return a verdict of guilty, it should be for the highest offense which has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. If you find that no offense has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, then, of course, your verdict must be not guilty. Only one verdict may be returned as to the crime charged. This verdict must be unanimous, that is, all of you must agree to the same verdict. The verdict must be in writing, and for your convenience, a necessary form of verdict has been prepared for you. And I'll get there towards the end, and we'll go over it together. A separate crime is charged in each count of the information, and, although they've been tried together, each crime and the evidence applicable to it must be considered separately, and a separate verdict returned as to each. A finding of guilty or not guilty as to one crime must not affect your verdict as to the other crime charged. So, at the very back is the verdict form. Grab it for me. And if you look at the top of it, it's got can I see the lawyers at the bench? All right. I just found a typo. So at the top of the is the case number. That's the wrong case number, and I'm division X is in marks. So this says division Z. We're going to fix that for you. And anyhow, what I want you to do, and it sounds crazy, but I'm going to explain it to you. Each of you have your pen in your hand? Grab your pen. And on each page of your verdict form, I want you to draw a diagonal line through it, through each page. I'm going to explain to you why. A very long time ago, I didn't have jurors do that, and 2 verdict forms came out of the jury room, completed. I had to send them back in there, so now I know when I hand you the official verdict form, which is going to have the right case number and the right division on it, that's the official verdict. So you just put a line through yours. Everything else, we're going to go over it right now, but I saw that the case number and the division number was wrong. So if you look, and I turn this microphone up for other people. We, the jury, finds as follows. As to count 1, we find the defendant. And you look to the left, there's underlines there. Guilty of manslaughter while armed, guilty of manslaughter, guilty of culpable negligence, not guilty. So there's a underline next to it. When you reach if and when you reach a unanimous verdict, whatever you find, you're going to put a big X under count 1 to the crime that you think or not guilty that's been proven or not proven. 1 X as to count 1. As to count 2, go to the next page. Guilty of attempted first-degree murder as charged in the information. If you put an X there, then look right below it. If you find the defendant guilty of attempted first-degree murder, you must next answer the following questions. And they're self-explanatory. And there should be 1 X, yes, no. Number 2, yes, no. Same for number 3. If you think it's a lesser included offense, you see out in the margin, you go drop down, guilty of attempted second-degree murder. And similar questions, 1, 2, and 3, right there. If you don't think that's appropriate, on the 3rd page, then there's a lesser of guilty of aggravated assault, guilty of assault, and not guilty. And you'll put an X next to the one you believe is appropriate. Just remember that the ones that have the questions, if you check that box out to the left, you got to answer the questions for me. Then whoever my foreperson is going to sign it, print their name, and date it. Filling this form out meticulously is very, very important to us. So please take your time. People will come out and tell me, oh, we were so nervous, we checked the wrong box. All kinds of things have happened in my many years here. Take your time, fill it out meticulously. So now we're going to go back to the instructions. In just a few moments, you'll be taken to the jury room by the courtroom deputy. The first thing you should do is elect a foreperson who will preside over your deliberations. The foreperson should see to it that your discussions are carried on in an organized way and that everyone has a fair chance to be heard. It is also the foreperson's job to sign and date the verdict form when all of you have agreed on a verdict in this case, and to bring the verdict back to the courtroom when you return. During deliberations, jurors must communicate about the case only with one another and only when all jurors are present in the jury room. You are not to communicate with any person outside the jury about this case. Until you have reached a verdict, you must not talk about this case in person or through the telephone, writing, electronic communication such as a blog, Twitter, email, text message, or any other means. Do not contact anyone to assist you during deliberations. These communication rules apply until I discharge you at the end of the case. If you become aware of any violation of these instructions or any other instruction I've given in this case, you must tell me by giving a note to the courtroom deputy. If you need to communicate with me, send a note through the courtroom deputy signed by the foreperson. If you have questions, I will talk to the attorneys before I answer, so it may take some time. You may continue your deliberations while you wait for my answer. I will answer any questions if I can, and it says in writing or orally. It will be orally here in open court. Your verdict finding the defendant either guilty or not guilty must be unanimous. The verdict must be the verdict of each juror as well as the jury as a whole. During the trial, items were received into evidence as exhibits. You may examine whatever exhibits you think will help you in your deliberations. Most of those exhibits will be sent to you in the jury room, along with a box of gloves, so you can, with you when you begin to deliberate. So when you're handling anything like that, you can put your gloves on. However, the CDs and the DVDs entered into evidence will be kept here in the courtroom. If you need to see or hear anything, ask in a written note. We'll come back and set it up. In closing, let me remind you that it's important you follow the law spelled out in these instructions in deciding your verdict. There are no other laws that apply to this case. Even if you do not like the laws that must be applied, you must use them. For 2 centuries, we've lived by the Constitution and the law, and no juror has the right to violate rules we all share. Now, when you reach a verdict, you're going to take that verdict form when I get you the official one, and you're going to fold it in half. You're going to knock on the door, and the deputies will come. And you'll say, we've reached a verdict. If you have a question, put it in writing. If you have a request, put it in writing. It might be, Judge, we want to get out of this jury room for a little while. Whatever it might be, put it in writing and knock. Don't come out of that jury room for security purposes. We'll have deputies posted by there the entire time. So whenever you need something. The other thing is, and Sonia, Kimberly, Maina, Michael, you're my alternate jurors. You're going to stay right where you are, and I'm going to come down and talk to you. So you just stay right where you are. The rest of you that I didn't say your first names, you're our jury. Your cell phones, any laptops, anything like that must be left on your chairs. We can't let you take those into the jury room starting now. If you need your phone, you have an emergency, you want to check on whatever it might be, you let us know. Just know, don't violate my rules about communicating with anybody about the case or doing any research, because nowadays everybody's phone's enabled to look at the internet. Do not do that for me. So in a second, we're going to take you back into the jury room, my 6. I'm going to go down and talk to the alternate jurors in a moment. You're going to leave your cell phones. Then we're going to knock on the door, and I'm just going to ask you to halt your discussions for a minute while we take the alternate jurors through, because I have no other way to get them out. Your food is here, correct? And we also, when you take the alternates out, so I don't know if any of the alternates have personal belongings in there. When the alternates enter the room, no discussion other than goodbye, whatever, I don't know how much you bonded, and grab your personal belongings. No discussion about the case. We'll give you your sandwich. We're going to knock on the door. It's going to take a little while because we have boxes and boxes of stuff to bring to you. So we're going to knock. It means we're coming in and we're going to bring you the evidence. Dunk, did I cover everything? You can take all your written materials with you now. Everything goes with you except for your phones or any kind of laptops. Leave them upside down in your chairs. Yes, sir. Okay. When we get you back in there, just hand it off to the deputy, and it's Raphael's. All right? Yours as well. Michael, you get to take your phone and beat feet. But I want to come down and talk to you. So my 6 actual jurors, time to deliberate. Follow the deputies back. I feel compelled, and I do this in every trial, I come down and talk to the alternate jurors because I know how hard he works, especially in this case. He started early. Normally, I don't start court till 9:30 while I do all my other morning court. And all my colleagues filled in for me and did all my morning court. So we started early every day. And my last jury trial I had, we had one juror who was late every single day in a serious way. And I had 14 jurors. So I want to thank you all because you were so comfortable. Now, there's some really important things I want to talk to you about. You have the right to talk to anybody about your work. You also have the right not to talk to anybody. If anybody contacts you and you don't want them contacting you, feel free to call my office. There's a good chance here that none of you want to speak about what your work was here, but it's your choice. The lawyers love to talk to the alternate jurors. They will not approach you. They will not approach you. In fact, when we leave here today, we're going to take you out the back, give you your sandwiches, my small little reward for you. And you have the right to take your sandwich and go with the deputies. You also have the right to come back to court and watch. That'll be your choice. You'll hand off the juror badges to them, and that will conclude your jury service. Now, inside those packets I gave you, it's a courthouse tradition. It almost seems silly, especially in a very serious case. We give you a certificate of appreciation. But inside the envelope is a letter evidencing your jury work. So in case you need it for an employer, if anybody has a problem with an employer, don't hesitate to call my office. I've had one problem in 16 years, and I think because of the road we took here together, that everybody's okay with their employers. But if you have a problem, don't hesitate to call my office. Also, there's an anonymous questionnaire, the way for you to write back to me. I told you about it during jury selection. I've got hundreds and hundreds of them. You don't have to do it. I put a stamp on the envelope for you. And it's anonymous. And it's a way for you to tell me, Judge, I like this. I didn't like that. And I learned recently, I got a letter that made me change some things that I said in court in this case because what a juror told me. So I do love to have them, and I've got every single one I've ever received. We're going to collect all your notepads. I call it a super shredder in my office. We shred all your notes unread. I want to make sure I covered everything. Do you have any questions for me? Thank you. Now, last time you're going to hear this. I'll just say.
Excuse me, I before they leave, do you mind if we approach real quick?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm going to reiterate one more time. Anybody reaches out to you that is not your desire, I want you to call me. Has that happened yet? Has anybody tried to contact any of you? I want to be called immediately. My office. Leave your everything but your certificate of appreciation in your envelope. Follow the deputies, watch your step, knock on the door, tell them they're coming through, grab their cell phones, and then they're going to be free to go. Make sure they get their sandwiches.
Alternates coming through.
Did forget something. I forgot to tell them one thing. So, and everybody can have a seat. Any objection if I just poke my head in there in a minute and tell them for 1 hour, we're going to be incommunicado. So we can eat and all these people can eat. And they got a lot to go over, but I don't want them to knock on the door. There'll be a deputy there, but to gather everybody, but for 1 hour, we're going to be able to get a lunch. Any objection?
No, sir. I have no objection. We're 4 blocks from here. Can we go back to our office?
Absolutely. Let's make it an hour and a half. They got enough to do.
No, I meant during the deliberation.
Yes. Leave your cell phones numbers, not your cell phones. Leave your cell phone numbers with the clerk. And that's the other thing I want to tell them, that sometimes it takes a while to gather everybody if there's a question. And you have the new, make sure to show them the new verdict form. please change the case number and the division?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm going to drop it off to him. Then I need the lawyers to come up and look through the evidence. And I'm going to tell them that's going to take a little while as well. So knock. Jurors, here's your official verdict form. And bring the new verdict form with you.
Not a problem.
I'm going to tell you. Build up whatever questions you have in writing, and we'll be back in an hour and a half. So I would ask everybody to gather in about an hour and a half, just because after that period of time, there may be something for us to do, and I don't want to take another 20 minutes. So when you come back, we'll hang out for a little while, and then I'll let everybody go to their respective offices. Fair? Oh, you're going to review the evidence right now, so I'm going to get out of here. And just so the public knows, then once all this gets taken care of, everybody will have to leave, the courtroom will get locked. For the lawyers, for the respective sides, there's general public, and then there's family of the victim and family of the defendant. Those are the people I got to concentrate on. I can't herd everybody out in the public. So the family of the victim and the defendant. Make sure you have their phone numbers. Okay? And I will be very courteous that, for instance, verdict. So they have a chance to come back and enter the courtroom for both sides. So have a contact person, because it's too hard to call 10 people. Somebody be in charge that the prosecutors can call, and somebody on the defense side that they can call, and then they're in charge of saying, get here. Keeping in mind that I try to do things rapidly because these poor people have been here for a really long time, and I just try to be really courteous with their time. Okay? See you back in an hour and a half.
Yes, sir.